Hey guys, what's up? Z here, and this is the Oukitel U20 Plus, the cheapest camera currently with a dual camera setup on the back. The rest of the specs are nothing special. You're getting an MTK 6737 processor, 2 gigs of RAM, and surprisingly a 1080p sharp display as well. So in order for this phone to succeed, Oukitel has to first make this phone pretty much not terrible, and then it has to make a good dual camera setup as well. So let's see how well Oukitel does with the Oukitel U20 Plus. So first, the build quality. The build quality of the Oukitel U20 Plus is all plastic. It doesn't feel too bad, but then again, it's still plastic. The phone feels pretty big. I can't really use the phone one-handed, and it also feels really thick and heavy as well. But on the plus side, it makes the phone feel more durable as well. There are some really big bezels around the screen, and you can't really see them because Oukitel very cleverly split them into two parts. One part is the black part, and the other part is the silver part or the gold part, depending on what color phone you get. Combine those two bezels together, you realize that you're getting a lot of bezel around the screen. The hardware buttons on the side of the phone are also a little bit wiggly, and it's been a pretty long time since I've reviewed a phone where the buttons are wiggly, so that's not a good sign either. You flip the phone around and you also get the dual camera on the back with the fingerprint sensor as well. Overall, the build quality here is pretty average with a few weak points here and there, but nothing too great. The display is 1080p, which is pretty rare in this price range. Even the top-end Redmi 4A only has a 720p screen. And here, not only is the screen 5.5 inches with a 1080p resolution, it's also a sharp display, which means that colors and saturation are actually pretty good. You also get some very decent contrast as well. Although the screen doesn't get very bright, topping out at around 400 nits, which means you're going to have some difficulty seeing the screen in direct sunlight. No protective glass either, so do be careful with the screen, although there is a pre-installed screen protector on the screen, but I took that off. The audio quality here is not that great. Volume-wise, it's not that loud. It's loud enough, definitely, but the audio quality is another story. The audio quality is slightly below average, and when you play audio at the max volume, there's actually a little bit of distortion and pretty much no bass. So again, it's not the greatest speakers in the world, and here's some sample audio for you to listen to.
Gary, where is Jessica? Isn't today take your daughter to work day?
No one actually does that.
Gary, you promised.
There's a 3300 mAh battery in the Oukitel U20 Plus, and the battery life here is okay. It's nowhere near Redmi levels of battery life, and definitely nowhere near the Redmi 4 Prime. I could get around 4 hours of screen on time, and this consisted of some YouTube, some Reddit, and some web browsing as well. So definitely not on the light side of use, but not on the heavy side either. For me personally, 4 hours is definitely not enough, but if you are a light or medium user, 4 hours might be enough for you. But heavy users will have difficulty getting through one day with this phone without charging. Oukitel left the software on this phone completely stock, which I very much appreciate, and the only change they made is they added a custom launcher to the phone, and I promptly replaced that with Google Now Launcher. The fingerprint sensor on the back is surprisingly not that great. The speed and accuracy of this phone are both not that good. It only recognizes my phone maybe 7 out of 10 times, and it's also pretty slow to unlock when the screen is off as well. And it's actually bad enough to the point that I don't really use the fingerprint sensor at all. Performance here is actually surprisingly good. With the MTK 6737, I was expecting some horrible performance, but here we actually have some pretty zippy performance when you're doing light stuff and opening and closing light apps. Everything is very usable and surprisingly smooth. However, you move on to bigger apps and the phone starts slowing down significantly as well. Multitasking is not that great either because you only have 2 GB of RAM. You can play some intense games like Asphalt on this phone on lowest settings, but there are some other intense games that you can't play very well. For example, Nova, that doesn't run very well. You also get a terrible Antutu score as well. You get the usual 2G, 3G, and 4G network bands, and it works here in Canada. Just make sure it works on your carrier before you try it on this phone. Wi-Fi and GPS work well. Bluetooth range is shorter than I expected. I'm not sure if it's a software issue or a hardware issue, but if it's a software issue, hopefully Oukitel fixes it ASAP. The dual camera is the main selling point on this phone, so let's see how well it does. And before I start, I just want to say that the camera app in this phone is actually very terrible and is very poorly optimized, so switching between modes in this phone is actually quite a chore. It's very slow and very laggy as well. However, the camera gave me a huge surprise, and pictures taken in good lighting conditions are actually pretty decent. which I was not expecting because cheap phones usually have pretty bad cameras. But here, colors are okay, detail as well, but when you zoom in too much, you do start seeing grain in this photo where you wouldn't see that in higher end phones, for example, my Z2 Plus or like the Mi Note 2. So moving on to the dual camera feature, you can activate the dual cameras using the SLR mode. And in this mode, you are able to select how much bokeh you want in the photo by using the virtual slider. It works decently well. You do get a decent bokeh effect, but you do have to hold the camera very still. To be honest though, I still prefer HDR mode because pictures taken in HDR mode are actually a lot better than those taken in the dual camera mode. The front-facing camera is average as well. The video quality goes up to 1080p, and colors and detail are okay, but they're nothing spectacular. So overall, the camera is actually very decent and surprised me. The dual camera feature works well as well, but pictures taken in HDR mode actually look better than those taken in the SLR or the bokeh mode. So the phone overall is a decent device, and if we put the camera aside for a moment, this phone is actually pretty decent for the price. However, the camera is the main selling point of this phone, and while the dual camera bokeh mode works, pictures taken in the HDR mode are actually better than in the bokeh mode, which is kind of surprising and kind of weird as well. So again, I said that this phone is decent, but it's definitely not the best thing you can get for your money. If you don't really care about the dual camera setup, probably the best bang for buck right now is still the Redmi 4A, but if you do care about the dual camera on the back of this phone, then you don't really have many options out there. The Oukitel U20 Plus is the cheapest phone right now with a dual camera setup. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and see you guys in the next one.